right. We are live streaming. It
Awesome.
is 8 o'clock on Tuesday, October the 18th. Not our normal meeting night, but we are in the middle of vendor event season. And Christine Hensley is our local expert on vendor events. She does quite a few. And people have been asking her lots of questions. And she was like, hey, Kim, would it be okay if we just did a quick Q&A where I could just answer people's questions about vendor events? And I was like, yeah, that would be great. So she volunteered her time tonight to do that. If you're watching us on the Gantt organization team page, we are live streaming there. Please click the link and join us via Zoom so we can see your face, and so that you can ask your questions live, because we can't see it if you're typing in questions on the Facebook group. So Christine, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay.
You do have a couple questions that were typed in on our organization page, and I'm going to message Tiffany and ask her if she is jumping on, because I know those were her questions. So I'm going to let you take it away.
It's funny how I've gone from the freezer meal consultant to the vendor event consultant. Life changes.
Life does change, and you're seeing a huge difference in your sales from that too.
A very big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to say about vendor events is none of them, there's no right or wrong way to do them. What works at one vendor event may or may not work at the next one. So a lot of this is trial and error. It's learning what you're comfortable with, what works for you. What works one day may not work the next day. And you just kind of go with the flow. And that's the biggest takeaway, I think. So just don't feel like if you've never done one and you're going to do your first one, that you're going to do anything wrong, because you can't. There's no right or wrong. So that was my number one that I wanted to put out there very first thing. Since Tiffany's not on yet, what I can do is give some pointers of a few things that I've noticed are common questions, and then we'll do a Q&A. And once Tiffany joins, I'll answer her questions specifically. So one of the things that people have asked me about was pricing. When I do a larger event where I'm paying more out of pocket for the vendor event fee than I normally would, I always charge the catalog price. And then that way, if somebody needs to take a little bit of a discount, or if I feel like if I gave them just $1 off that I could make the sale, I would rather do that than start with a lower price. I live in a really small town, so we have a lot of events here. For those events, I'll typically give a little bit of a discount to start with. So if there is some finagling, I have less room to play with to still break even on that product. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then somebody else that I talked to earlier this week said, I'm going to do my first vendor event. I don't have a lot to take with me. What should I do? So my suggestion to that is take what you have. Take the stuff that you use every day if it still looks in really good condition. Mark on your table, these are display only. You can make a sign. If you're going to take a little bit of cash and carry and some to display, have part of your table be cash and carry, part of your table be display. I would separate the two so it's easier for your customers. You can say, you know, the left side is this and the right side is this, rather than commingling. To me, that's easier as a shopper and to kind of help people guide them along your table. As far as payments, I have advanced how much or what I take. I used to just do cash. I now can do cash, PayPal, Venmo, and I recently got a Square. My Square that I've had just in the last probably 3 months has made a huge difference. Once I noticed I was really losing sales, I got that Square. The $10 that you spend up front and then you get a rebate for that, it's essentially free. And then with that, every transaction there is a fee for, but it's very minimal. So I use the Square more times than not anymore. So that has really come in handy. When I first started vendor events, I never wanted to mess with anything like that. But again, as I've advanced and as I've learned more, I have found that was a big thing to have. And then you want to make sure that you have a way to communicate to your people, to your customers, your contact information. So whether it's a business card, whether it's a flyer, whether it's catalogs or mini catalogs, something that has your information in it. One thing that I picked up from one of the other consultants is the season's best books. I've taken all of the ones that I've had, and inside the front cover, I've put a sticker with my contact information, the same sticker that I use on my catalogs. And that way, even if they don't get a business card or get a catalog, they still have my contact information if they get that book. And if they hand it out to someone for a gift, hey, now that person has my information. So that works out really well. So those were the high points that I wanted to hit without addressing Tiffany's questions. So I'll turn it over to you guys. If you have any specific questions, you can type them in the chat or ask me straight away.
Tiffany is now on.
Oh, fantastic.
I see her. Tiffany, can you unmute and ask Christine the questions that you wanted answered, that you had typed in? I don't know if she's able to talk now or not. She's on mute.
Okay, I can, since she's here, I can start answering her questions then.
Yeah, she said she's not in a place where she can talk. Yeah, do you want to
Okay.
answer hers first?
Yeah,
And then we'll
that's
do
fine.
the other ones. Okay.
So how do I decide what items to take and how many? So when I started out, I would just take what I had. I had, you know, a couple things that I got in my kits that I was okay with parting with. When I place orders, I just order a couple extra at a time, and I just slowly build my stock. So at this point, unless I'm doing something specific, like I just did the Apple Festival, I just take whatever I have. And if people are asking for something at one vendor event that I don't have or that I don't typically stock, I may get one or two of those to add to my stock to see how it would do in future shows. And I'll give you an example of that. I was a consultant for probably 3 years when I did a vendor event last November. In the 3 years that I sold, nobody had ever asked me for beer bread. I probably could have sold 10 beer breads at that vendor event. So now I always make sure that I have at least one beer bread. This past weekend, I did an Apple Festival. I did get ahead of time several apple wedgers, Coors, apple spice beer bread. I sold maybe one of each of those, which really surprised me because I thought I would sell more. But people were asking for scrapers. I could have sold 20 scrapers on Saturday had I had any. Again, nobody had ever asked me for one before. So you just kind of, again, you're learning as you go along and you just take what you can. I'm at a point now where I've been doing this long enough. I've built up my stock, so I have a lot. I have 5 times as much as I had when I first started. So you just take what you can. And if you can't spend the money, that's okay. That's where your flyers come in. That's where your catalogs come in. That's where your website and QR codes come in. If you have it and you can take it, great. If you can't, that's okay. There's other ways of doing it.
And Christine, you said a lot of people were wanting, you sold mix and chops.
So at this vendor event, I sold 10 mix and chops, 2 garlic presses, and a lot of like the white spatulas. They were popular. And even at this one, the silicone utensils were very popular.
So the
and
new
then
silicone.
the new silicones.
What about pantry products? Do you sell a lot of our seasonings and rubs and that kind of thing?
It depends. At this particular event this weekend, I sold a very minimal. Other vendor events, I sell out. So again, it just depends on the crowd.
Yeah.
Like when I did the Hickory Fair,
yeah,
that was the first time in my 4 years that I sold Jamaican jerk. I don't keep it in stock. The man ordered 2 and we went from there. You know, so it's just, you just go with the flow. You figure it out as you go along.
Yeah.
So Tiffany's next question was how much to spend on vendor events. I try not to spend more than about $40 or $50 on a vendor event if it's an all day. This year, vendor events have been very profitable, so I've increased that. I did a 6-day vendor event here in Hickory. That was $150, but when I broke it down, it was $3 an hour. So I felt like that was a good deal. I did the Taylorsville Apple Festival. That is a huge festival. I ended up selling like $1,300, and my vendor fee was like $110, and that was including power. So I would never spend $100 on a vendor event in my town because it's so small. Those are usually $20 and $25. And even with that, I've told them the $25 is too much, in my opinion. So it just depends on where it is and what kind of traffic you're going to get. Does that make sense?
And I think they're just huge right now because people haven't had an opportunity to go. So
Yeah.
more people are going.
More people are going. They're ready to spend money, and they want to find the right thing for the right price, but they're willing to spend it if they can find that. Karen, did you have a question? No? Okay. Then question number 3 was, what about like discontinued products and lack of warranty? So anything that a customer will buy off of your table will not have a warranty to them. But so the way that I work around that is, for every sale that I make, I try to make sure they have my contact information. So I've gotten to the point where I'm slipping a business card into the bag as I'm bagging the product. If it's something bigger, or if they're specifically asking about the warranty, then I tell them, because you're buying it through me, there is no warranty with Pampered Chef. If you have an issue with it, please call me directly and I will see what I can do. And then most of the stuff is under my name or my husband's name, so I can call and get a replacement if I need to. It's more hassle if it was to happen, but it's the only way around it. And as far as taking discontinued, I take anything and everything that I have available. I still have a lot of like the nylon utensils. And so I have them sitting on the table, the nylons and the silicones. So I tell customers, these are the discontinued and they've been replaced with these. So they can see the difference. And a lot of people like the silicone. They like that they're not as heavy. They like that they're smaller. They'll fit better in the drawers. So I can let them make that choice. If they like the bigger one better, the old version, then they can buy that one. And as far as pricing the discontinued stuff, I try not to, I'll give them a discount if they ask for it, but again, I'll typically leave it at the catalog price when it's sold at the time. And if I do need to give a discount, it's okay. And my least and most profitable vendor event was, oddly enough, one that was here in Maiden. Last summer, I signed up for 4 out of their 5 music festivals. They do this 5 Fridays in the summer. My first 2 nights there, I sold nothing. My 3rd night there, I sold $1,000 in a 4-hour show. And like, it's for Maiden, that is like unheard of, and so like that night, the night that I sold $1,000, it was the hottest night of the entire summer. While we were setting up, I honestly felt like I was going to pass out. I was ready to just call it in and say, we're going home. But some Maiden guys that were working there, they came and they helped. We took our time. We got everything done. In the end, that was the best Maiden night that I've ever had. And again, you just don't know what's going to happen. And in that night, I sold over $1,000. I paid a $25 booth fee. So I made $975 that night.
Insane. You just don't, you keep going back. When you commit,
Exactly.
you go. Yeah.
You go. Yeah. The only time that I have ever signed up for a vendor event and knock on is if I got sick or if my daughter got sick and I couldn't go. Yeah. Other than that, I at least go. There are times where people leave, if it's not going well, they'll leave in an hour or two. And that's just not professional in my mind. unless the coordinators say you can leave, you should stay for the time. You've already made the commitment. Honor that commitment. It's your reputation on the line, because some vendor events will track who leaves early, and then they may not let you come back again. Let's see. So now I see some questions. How do you act during a vendor event? So for me, I am a very naturally quiet, introverted person. I don't talk to every single person who's walking by. If they stop at my table, I always say hello, how are you? You know, is there anything I can help you find? But there's other consultants who will talk to everybody who's walking by. It's just a difference in personality. It's okay. I do what I'm comfortable with. Some folks get scared off when they enter the area if they are spoken to. Yep. What is the happy medium? And that's where I'm saying I talk to them once they're there. I'll say hello. If they start chatting, I'll start, I'll talk more to them. I kind of let them lead that, because that's the way that I like to. I don't like to be attacked as soon as I walk into someone's place.
No.
I personally don't do any giveaways. I am not coordinated enough to do that. I know a lot of other vendors do. So in the way that would work is you would have a product, and I'll use like a batter bowl as an example. You can have people fill out those little contact slips PC used to have, or make your own, get a little notebook. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just make sure you have pens that work. Have them fill that out, put it in there, and you can tell them, I'll do the drawing at 4 o'clock, or when it ends, or tomorrow morning, or whatever. And then you pick a winner and you call. The other thing you can do is use those contacts as contacts. So you can call them and talk to them about creating a relationship to maybe get orders or recruits or whatever. Again, I've not done that before, so I can't give you the specifics, but I know like there's several people on our team who have done that. Setting up a link. Yes. So I typically will add whatever sales I have from a vendor event to whatever party I happen to have open at the time. So whether it's a fundraiser, a fund, or just a general open order, or for a hostess, I always have something open, and I'll usually add that to there. Of that 900 in sales is that cash and carry. So that was a combination. That particular night, that lady ordered the knife set at full price, some pots and pans. I mean, that lady had money to spend. So when she started giving me her order that night, I said, let's create a party for you. She ended up calling her mom and her daughter. So between the three of them, they all placed an order. Instead of adding it to the party link that I already had open, I created one for her and her family. We opened it and closed it in the same night. So in that night, it was all cash and carry. Here at the Taylorsville Festival, it was about 50-50. I had some really decent online orders. When I was at the Hickory Festival, most of it was cash and carry. There was a little bit of online. So it's just a combination of whatever is needed. At the Taylorsville Festival, a lot of people wanted stoneware. I don't typically carry stoneware. I'm afraid it'll break. So the online orders that I placed all had stoneware on them. What other questions do you guys have?
So I've got one about so do you set up like a QR code that people can just scan on their phone and do it quickly? Or how do you handle like when somebody wants to do an order?
So I have a QR code for my PayPal, my Venmo, and my VIP group. I have these little tiles that I bought from 31, and they have a little stand. I have a QR code keychain that I keep on my keys. But for vendor events, I also will have a QR code on a flyer or something for that particular event. And if I don't have that, then I'll just place their order with them while they're standing there. Or like in Taylorsville, the Wi-Fi got really bad. So I just took that lady's contact information and called her the next day and got her order over the phone, because she said she was comfortable giving me her credit card over the phone. Otherwise, I could have just sent her the link for it.
Yeah, I like that. The QR code for your PayPal and Venmo, because when you do it, then they can just, if they don't want to put their credit card information in, they just send it to you. Yeah. How
Yep.
many of you guys take PayPal and Venmo payments from customers? It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Like, you know, I just transfer the money out of there. Really makes it easy.
Oh yeah. And the same thing with Square. Like once I run their credit card, I changed it so that I transfer the money when I want to. So a lot of times I'll just let it build. So before we went to Disney, I was letting my PayPal, Venmo, and Square build. And then a few days before, I transferred it all over. And then that was part of our spending money.
Sweet, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. Anybody else? Questions for Christine? What events do you guys have coming up? Type in the chat if you've got some upcoming events. And while y'all are typing those in, I've got one. What do you take as far as display? Do you take any electronics? Do you take cookware? Do you take smaller pieces? Like what are you taking?
I usually will take whatever cash and carry that I have. And then depending what the specials are that month, if I have them, I will bring them. I got these new little shelves that kind of fold flat for storage. So I displayed all my Apple stuff on there, on one of them. And then I think on the other one, I put the new cupcake kit because I figured a lot of kids would be walking by.
Right.
So I have taken electrics in the past. Because I don't know like my neighbors and stuff, I don't usually take those unless I feel like it's a small enough that I'm not worried about them being gone if I walk away for a second.
Gotcha. People are typing in the chat. Oh my gosh, Fall Festival this weekend from Vanessa. Holiday Market at Church. I've got one of those coming up in December. Fall Festival this Saturday, Robin. Ashley has her very first on the 29th. Awesome. It's a church event that ends in trunk or treat. I think that is going to be fun. Dawn was really nervous about this one. We were chatting about it, the High Brighton High School Band fundraiser. Tiffany says nothing. I'm just starting to contemplate.
Tiffany, you get on the ball. Come on, we can do it. Look, if I can do it, Little Miss doesn't talk, everybody else can.
And Robin says, do you charge tax on cash and carry?
I do not charge tax. I've already paid the tax. There's no reason to mess with it.
No, you don't charge on that. It's just your stock because you have it. Stephanie says people seem to be too much in a hurry to place an order. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Stephanie. Like they don't want to wait or they're impatient or.
I have found, especially this year, more people want it right now. They don't want to wait for it. So I understand what Stephanie is saying. In the past, I have had more online orders. Right now, if it's on your table, they want it. If it's not, they may not want to wait for it.
Gotcha. Pam typed in, I see now on the Facebook page because I'm watching that. No, we do not charge tax on cash and carry because it's already been paid.
Right.
By the consultant, or it was just something you earned for free and maybe you got duplicates of or whatever.
Right.
So Kim,
yeah,
can I just hop on for a second?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, unmute. Anybody unmute? Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Okay. So I had actually talked to Christine the other night and she gave me lots of great tips. One of the things that she hasn't mentioned tonight was I told her I didn't have a lot of catalogs. So she had suggested that I take one apart and put it in one of these binders. So I've done that. I don't know if y'all can see what I'm doing.
Yes.
But I put all the catalog pages in a binder to put on the table. And she was also saying, you know, a lot of people don't like to place orders. You know, they like to get it right away. But I did make the QR codes for the table, like she suggested. And I've got little things I got to cut them out to hand out because this fundraiser is going to last for a few extra days. With the code, they can take it with them. And I'm fingers crossed, y'all. This is my first one.
You're going to do
that
great.
is a Great idea. She had mentioned that, and I had written that down about creating a cute little flyer with your QR code that they can take with them. People are so used to QR codes now. They didn't used to be, but now they're like, oh yeah. I mean, it makes it so easy than trying to type in a website or whatever. I love that. Love that.
Stephanie, that's really smart. I create my business cards in Microsoft Word so I can change them at any time. And I've thought about putting the QR code on the backside. That would make things a lot easier.
Yeah. I love it. Anybody else have questions for Christine? If you have the opportunity to do one, do it.
Do it, yeah.
Pam typed in too, do you demo anything?
Yes and no. It depends on the vendor event. Some places won't let you. Some places won't let you do samples or anything like that. The one time in particular that I've demoed was when the blender first came out. I took it a few places that I was allowed to. So I did the hot chocolate in the blender at one event, and at another I did the hummus, and then I cleaned it, and then we did the red pepper hummus, and those were great.
And Pam typed in that she did one and did the rapid prep with potatoes, and that created lots of interest and drew people in.
Yep.
Yeah. I can remember when I did the Apple Festival years ago, I was wedging apples with the apple wedger, and people, you know, were taking apple slices and stuff just to show them how it worked. And doing the apple peeler core slicer. I mean, this is
I had several
amazing.
people ask for that this year.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but now I'm telling you what, if you cut the core out of the apple and just trim it, I put my apples in there and run them through the rapid prep, and they work great.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, they work really good.
Well, if you
Anybody
guys
else?
have questions after this, you could always reach out to me. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. It's funny that I'm doing as well as I am, because years ago, yeah, as long as I broke even, I was good. I was happy. And now I'm really making a profit, and it's made a big difference for us as a family.
That is incredible. This was not comfortable for Christine. She really stepped out of a comfort zone to do this. It's, you know, a little nerve-wracking to think about setting up at a vendor event, but I'm telling you guys, they are so crammed with people right now. People are just itching to get out. Just really do one. The one thing that it does too is it expands your customer base. So if you're looking to kind of expand in your area, this is a great way to do it. And people are going to.
You can always start with a really small one,
Mm-hmm.
and then work your way from there. Don't choose a 6-day Hickory fair like I did a couple weeks ago, but that was so fun.
Yeah.
And like the one that I did this weekend was crazy. If that had been my first one, I don't know that I would have ever done one again. But you build up your knowledge, your comfort level. So go small on your first one and let it grow from there.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
You're
Anybody
welcome.
else have questions? Oh, Amy says, what do you do if you need to go to the bathroom or take a break?
Pray. It really depends on, like, ideally you would want to have somebody there with you. That is not always possible. So, depending on who my neighbors are, sometimes if they seem nice enough, we'll watch each other's booth at the Hickory Fair. This lady and I, who were catty corner from each other, we started chit-chatting, and we ended up watching each other's booth when one of us had to step away. If there are people who are next to me that are sketchy, then I just don't go anywhere, which has not only happened, but maybe once or twice. So it's a chance you take, but I always take my phones with me, whatever, like cash or whatever money I have, I take that stuff with me. If product goes, there's nothing I can do, but sometimes you just got to take a chance.
Well, and anytime I've done them, always the other vendors have always watched. Yeah, I've got to go grab something to eat. Can you look at it?
And
how much?
Vendors usually, I have found, they take care of each other.
They do. Donna typed in about cash. How much cash do you normally take, like, for change?
I usually take a combination of ones, fives, and tens. I haven't really counted to say I'm gonna take this much of whatever. Again, if it's a bigger show, I try to have more. If it's a smaller one, less. But make sure you have those ones and fives.
Yeah, because a lot of people do bring cash.
Yes,
They do bring cash.
yeah.
Right.
I was surprised by how much cash I accepted at the Taylorsville Apple Festival, because lately I've been doing a lot of square. But at the Taylorsville thing, I mean, the first couple hours was all cash.
Girl, I'm gonna tell you, those Alexander County people, they pay cash for everything.
There's no record for them.
I'm at parties in Taylorsville, live parties, and they're handing out the hundreds and the 50s. And I mean, they're just
Yeah. I had one sale for like $13 and the guy gave me $100 bill and I was like, oh, okay.
You had change?
At that point in the show, yes. If he
Wow.
had been one of my first ones, I wouldn't have, but
No,
luckily
sir.
he was later in the day.
I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and Christine for taking a half an hour out of your family's time and joining us. So excited. You guys be sure to stay connected to your organization pages if you're on Pam's team or Christine's or ours. New 2023 products were revealed today, which is so cool. I love that we're getting that new digital base for the rock clock. That is amazing. And then the new soups. Oh my gosh. Everybody's got to sell 1,000. You've got to have that. Got to have it. All right,
I
guys.
can't wait.
Me either. Me either. All right.
Thank
Gantwork,
you
we will see you
all.
Thursday night for our normal call. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.